Hello, my name is Lana, and I'm coming live today specifically to share my story and the dental challenges that I'm dealing with, the medical issues I've been having. As a veteran of the U.S. Air Force, I have encountered many struggles at trying to get my full disability approved. I've found myself having to resubmit appeals and benefits packages specifically to just be acknowledged that here in my medical records it shows all of these health problems that I've had as a result of the time I spent in the military. I did a really good job of keeping track of everything that in my medical records I have documented was during the time I was active duty. And unfortunately, the system is set up for failure. It's set up to deny. You submit the paperwork, they either automatically deny you the first time, or maybe you get a little bit here or a little bit there, or you get 0% connected service disability with a few of the items you've submitted medical-wise. And unfortunately, during the time that I spent in the Air Force, I had my wisdom teeth removed, and I never knew what TMJ was. I never mentioned it. I had heard worst case scenarios than the ones that I was encountering, but I didn't understand that what I was experiencing was a result of the wisdom teeth. I didn't know that the locking of my jaw and the popping and the clenching was all a result of what removing my wisdom teeth did. It completely shifts your jaw. This is my experience, and so I have submitted numerous times and been told it's not TMJ by the VA. And it's frustrating because the only way here in Florida you can be seen by a dentist in the VA is if you either have a service-related dental medical disability that's recognized, or you have to be 100% service-connected disabled. And even then, there's always a possibility they won't see you. So I have submitted over the years. I left the Air Force in 2003. I did not submit my paperwork until about 2004 or 5 and was unclear about how to handle it until I came back to the U.S. because I was working as a government contractor over in Naples, Italy. When I came back to the U.S., I went down to a local VA clinic where I met an American Legion representative, and she explained a lot of the process and told me what I needed to do, and I had to reopen it in order to appeal because I had been somewhat service connected. Like I said, 0% on some of my disabled recognized medical issues. And so I submitted, and then I was denied, and then submitted, and it's been a very long process because guess what? It's all about the verbiage. It's all about wording it exactly the way they want to see it to acknowledge and accept it. And the process in itself, over the years, I'm sure it's just been sitting on desks. It's piles of stacks of paperwork. The VA's been known to, like I said, red tape, deny them till they die, and it's unfortunate. It's obvious just through conversations with other veterans that I'm not the only one who's experienced this, and it's frustrating. It's frustrating because it stresses us out, especially when we're on limited incomes or we're seeking medical support and care and told it's not covered or we don't recognize that. And instead of giving you an idea or a direction, it's almost like a denial, like I said, deny. And that hurts self-esteem, especially with veterans, because what happens? Most people don't feel worthy enough of submitting for their benefits. They don't even realize they have those benefits available to them. My mother and my mother had submitted years ago for my stepdad in order for him to finally get disability. That poor man, he had to have hip replacements, knee replacements, And then my grandfather, same thing. And to go through the process is just crazy. And I don't like to ask for help. The last thing I wanted to do was create a fundraiser over a tooth. I put it off because I thought, well, maybe I'll come on into a little bit more money and I'll take care of it when I can. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. You think, okay, I can take care of this later. It can wait. And we do that. We put our own health at risk because we're afraid of being denied, or we don't have the money or the resources, when medical should be across the board. Dental should not be considered this separate form of health care. And dental is normally not even covered 100% by most insurances. It's part of the body. I mean, the body can't be broken down into all these different pieces. And the mouth, this is what I'm learning. The mouth is so important. Here's the series of events that have happened. So I've been trying to get back and get the information as to where my appeal stands at the moment. About a week and a half ago, I sat on the phone for over an hour on hold just to find out the status, only to find out that it is still denied, and that the last appeal that I submitted asking for them to reopen it was denied because it lapsed 20 days, despite my calling in advance and being told that, I told them my mother passed away this summer. It's been a really rough year. I just want to make sure that I'm okay by submitting this if it's late. And I was told, go ahead, you'll be fine. But when I did, this is the series of events. And unfortunately, you can't shoot the messenger, because maybe that's what they tell you to keep you happy and give you hope. They give you a middleman that doesn't even know if that's a correct answer. And you're struggling just for that little bit of hope. So you spend over an hour waiting for someone to at least give you some positive feedback, to know you're cared about in this fashion. I was really frustrated. I was upset, because then I'm like, oh my gosh, now I'm back to square one again. And they had to send out the letter, because I said, I never received a letter to give me this update. And it's not the first time, by the way. Do you know how many times I've had to call because instead of sending me a letter, and they don't postmark them, the letter is dated, but they're not postmarked, which to me is also not showing accountability. Because at least with a postmark, you know when it was sent. The date on the letter doesn't mean anything if it was never sent. See, that's where they get away with it. If it's not postmarked, then they don't have any accountability, because you can't even turn around and say, well, look, this is when this was sent and this is the date. You can't even compare the dates. So I received the letter the other day, and it disheartened me more. And I had been down to the VA and changed my primary VA to the Tampa VA instead of Bay Pines, because I really didn't feel like I was getting much help over there. And my primary care provider did not give me the feeling that I was supported as I felt I needed. And so I met a man who said, when you find out, come back and I'll work with you. And so I still have to make that time to go down there, which I do have an appointment on the 15th with a new primary care provider, but that doesn't fix the dental situation. Go back a few weeks ago, before I came back here from, I flew back, a couple days before I flew back from helping my dad up in New York. I was eating some dates and almond butter. And while I was eating the dates, I was chewing it, and all of a sudden, I felt an extra crunch. It wasn't the crunch this was almond butter that wasn't crunchy, first off. So when I felt that crunch, the first thing I thought was, ooh, wait a minute. And I reached in my mouth and I pulled it out, and I'm like, this doesn't feel like a piece of almond. And then I felt it. I felt the hole in my tooth. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Now, I actually had a crack in the tooth last year. Just the edge of it up against the other tooth. There are a couple things that are all connected, it seems, but I'm not a doctor, I'm not a dentist, and I can't prove what I can obviously see. First off, TMJ. I have migraines. I grind my teeth at night. I had to have a bite made when out of pocket for almost $3,000, took a long time to get the bite to fit my teeth. And with this bite, I'm supposed to wear it all the time, but unfortunately I can't wear it all the time. And they took x-rays before the bite and showed the compression in my cervical spine, which is rated by the military, and I do have cervical spine issues. So they showed the compression, showing that there is clearly an off bite. And I attribute it to the wisdom teeth being taken out. With this bite not being correct, it also increases my grinding and my tension, the problems that I have. And I get migraines all the time. Just, I don't talk about them. I actually try to keep them at bay. And so they took a picture after I had the bite made and in my mouth, and they showed the spaces between each of the vertebrae as a result of just putting a bite in to correct my jaw, to correct my bite. I believe that our teeth are so much more important than they act like it's like this elective thing. Oh, well, you just needed to chew or what have you. And it's just like anything in this country, it's big business. And I think everybody should have access to this. We shouldn't have to pay for something so, I'm sorry, but it's the basics, it's the necessities, it's not the need. And also, in addition, I have had mercury fillings in my mouth that I had to have replaced, again on my dime, because they don't pay for that. The military still uses them from my understanding. And so I had a bunch of mercury fillings replaced. Now, in addition, before I had the mercury fillings replaced, I had problems with serious jaw problems. I mean, they were even worse, where I was getting vertigo at night when I was working over in Europe years ago, and I had to go to an osteopath. It was the worst vertigo I've ever experienced. It was the fall, September to November of 2005, and I'll never forget. It felt like I was spinning, laying down, just nauseous. It was the most miserable feeling I've ever felt. Mercury is toxic to the brain, and I was still grinding. So one of the teeth that was replaced, the filling, is on the underside molar, underneath the same tooth that has a hole in it, and the one behind it is another tooth. So we have two teeth that had to have mercury fillings replaced, bottom, upper back, right next to where the wisdom teeth were. So I believe those are 13 and 14 are the two. The 14 is, I believe, the one top left that I have the hole in. And it's frustrating because I'm like going, all this money I've spent, and I'm starting to see the connection, because our mouth health affects everything from nerves to our glandular system. I mean, if your jaw gets infected, that affects your entire body. It goes up into your brain. And like I just said, mercury fillings are toxic to the brain. Don't ever use hydrogen peroxide in your mouth if you have mercury fillings, because if it becomes gaseous, it's even more toxic. And it does cross the brain-blood barrier, the myelin sheath. And so I've done a lot of research on this, but I don't know all the answers for what I need right now. And so I'm trying to find a dentist that I can go to, trying to raise the money so that I can be seen, because now I've learned that Florida, I don't know if it's just Florida, but apparently in order to see a dentist and become a patient, you have to have a full exam. And the dentist I called that I went to before passed away in April, but there's a woman who uses the same protocols. And I was told that it would be $400 for a full exam to become a patient. But it's $142 to have the one tooth looked at and a partial exam. Just one tooth. But I have other problems because the tooth behind it, I lost part of the filling about 1.5 years ago. And I haven't been able to replace it. I was told by one dentist, it's okay as long as you keep it clean. But I'm not feeling very confident about a lot of my teeth situation at this point. I also have issues with receding gums. Now, I don't have periodontal disease from what I'm told, but it's receding enough that I'm concerned that I want to fix that. But this hole in my tooth is the most it's scary, because when it happened and since then, and I feel swelling and inflammation here right now, I started feeling within the first week the nerves very subtly, and I'm feeling it now as I speak, subtly just across all along my cheek. And I can look down and feel the difference in inflammation from one side to the other. This is the side that I'm having the issue with. But if I go back to and mention about the grinding, Mercury is so bad for you that I'm wondering now, with all of this and putting the twos together and making 4 and all that, if I'm grinding my teeth and I have a filling that was here and a filling back here, and I'm really grinding it down, it's very likely that's what caused the break in this tooth. But it's mostly because I haven't been able to get my teeth fully realigned. The bite is just temporary. I need to have my mouth actually worked on. I have to have the bite rebuilt inside of my mouth. But back when the doctor referred me to I believe it's an orthodontist at that point, where they do braces and everything else, but they build up the teeth. The orthodontist at the time asked me, do you feel good with the bite that you have now that the doctor did? And I said, well, to be totally honest with you, I don't know, because I don't know if this feels good. I mean, how do you know if it's comfortable? And if I'm already telling you that I have a broken tooth, it's very likely the broken tooth is a result of the bite, possibly at night, being just offset enough to create the pressure to create the break. And as anyone knows, if you've ever had fillings, when they put that paper in to make sure they've, etched it out properly, I'm thinking it's not the way it needs to be. So this is where I'm at, and I'm frustrated because I have an appointment on Monday, but it's the basic necessities, and I really want to go for the full exam, and I want to go further. Like I said, the most important thing is the hole in my tooth. I don't want to find out they're going to say I need a root canal, they're going to say I need to pull the tooth, or they're going to fill it. I'm concerned that I take care of this as soon as possible, because I'm already experiencing migraines again. This sensation, since my breaking, I've had more neck pains. In fact, the morning after this all occurred, I woke up the next morning with my neck all jacked up, right before I was getting on the plane the next day. And I was like, oh my gosh. And it travels down my back. It's all connected. You cannot dismiss, and I do that anyway, I dismiss the head from the arms and the legs and the torso. It's like, how do they do this? It's all part of the medical system, and it's unfortunate. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Even if you can't donate money, just sharing and your support and your comments make all the difference. But the most important thing is really just sharing. If you know of any groups, like especially military groups, I would greatly appreciate this being spread out there. Anybody who's willing to support, every little bit counts. I don't know if it's going to be as much as I put down for. It could be more, or it could be less. But I'm trying to cover myself at least for the initial, and that's not even going into anything further, like having it filled or removed, or I really prefer not to do a root canal. From everything I've researched, root canals are not healthy, because if you have a dead tooth, you're going to cause more trauma to the jaw. But these are the things I'm dealing with. This is my story, my frustration. If you have any questions, if you have any suggestions, I've seen some people suggest going to a dental college. I will check into that next week. I have kind of like concerns. I do know at least I have the appointment on Monday afternoon, and that makes me feel a little bit better, because I'll get some answers and some direction at that point. But I don't know what else to do, and I am the last person to want to do a fundraiser and have to raise money for my teeth. As it stands right now, I've been struggling. I'm stressed out over all this, and as far as money goes, I'm making it barely month to month at this point. And it's the one thing I don't go out there advertising, because I don't want. It's embarrassing, isn't it? I mean, the military gives me a disability check every month, but it's barely enough to cover my basic needs and everything that I have going on as far as expenses for the house. And I'm definitely not frivolous. I'm trying to be as frugal as possible and keep with what resources I have available to me. I'm grateful for everything I have in my life because I know I've done enough in my life to set me up at least with a home. And I know a lot of people don't even have that. I've made good choices in my life that at least I can say I have a home to go home to that's paid for. But I still got to pay the utilities, and I still have to pay for the insurance in the car and the taxes every year. It is stressful trying to figure out what am I going to do next month. And so between selling things off and, this fundraiser, I'm just really hoping that I can raise enough money to be able to take care of and find out what is going on with my tooth and to take care of those basic needs to be able to repair and hopefully have my mouth looked at a lot more deeper, and so that I can keep you all informed as well. I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for listening, for sharing, like I said, and those of you who have donated. If I'm a little flustered, it's only because I don't know what else to do, and this is my last resort. So, like I said, thank you very much for listening. You have a wonderful day, and if you know of anything, please let me know. Any ideas. I'm open to all suggestions. Have a wonderful evening. Be blessed. Get out in nature. We all need vitamin D. Bone building. I love you all. Thank you.